Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
From the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, this is Otaku Movie Anatomy, breaking down and reviewing some of the best and worst in the animated film genre. Is its power level over 9,000, or is it just another Yamcha? Find out now on Otaku Movie Anatomy!
Lauren.
All right.
Oh, here's the music.
Yep, that means we're live.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Otaku Movie Anatomy. I am your temporary host,
Indeed.
Emma Fife. Here I
Trying to
am.
steal our jobs away.
I know. I somehow they're letting me be in charge of this one. So,
I'm very tired.
I
It's
approve.
been a hard
I like it. I approve.
I approve as well.
Yeah.
and I am joined by a fabulous panel of additional hosts today. Max Song.
Hello.
Where can we find you on the internet, Max?
At Super Attack You. Super Attack with you at the end. I'm also bringing sweater vests back.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
I'm really
Yeah.
appreciating
I approve.
this
Please.
style. This style.
I
Bring it
approve.
back.
Speaking of styling, at the end of the table, we have Jonathan Meza.
Of course, in my usual Deadpool
Yes.
tie, you can
Yes.
always in Deadpool. You can find me at Kaibacat, Kaibacat, and on all of the Instagram, Twitters, all that stuff.
Yes,
Kaibacat.
and we have a fabulous guest star joining us today. I feel like I'm
Fabulous.
overusing the word fabulous, but it doesn't matter.
Fabulous.
Everyone's fabulous here.
We have Lauren Landa on the show this evening to talk about the first two Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Yes, got it.
Say
Wow,
it fast,
you did it.
fast.
No, I can't.
Don't.
Films Beginnings and Eternal, and Lauren, of course, is the voice of Kyoko Sakura
I am.
in both the anime series and also in these films, which are extremely, extremely similar.
Yes.
So basically, we're talking about the first two Madoka OVAs, which are essentially a recap of the series.
Right.
Okay, so you say a recap. But
It's
basically the series.
basically is the
Yes.
series.
Pretty much.
This is just a better paced version of the series.
Which is, I have never seen the series.
Okay.
This was my first experience with Madoka.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was really interesting. And so 2 movies. They are over 4 hours long. And you said the series is 6. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like, it's like you weren't like,
Together,
you were
two
trying to
things
break it down. But they're like,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just take out a little bit and make it movies. Like,
That is literally what happened.
Yeah.
They literally just took out some scenes. It's mostly the same music. It's just like some redone voice acting.
So I basically, because I was very curious, because it was blowing my mind how like it basically was the series, I went back into the series
Right.
and scrubbed through it and saw what was missing. And basically it's just some family conversation.
Yes.
There's some school stuff
Yep.
where they just like talk about the same thing basically, but for like a whole episode.
Yeah.
And mommy's backstory. And those are the 3 things that they
Yeah.
kind of, for the most part, took out.
and that's it.
And
Yeah.
that's it. And everything else is in there.
And it's not even like they totally took them out so much as they kind of glossed over them in a way. Like, especially didn't get as deep into, as you say, like Madoka and her family. They kind of cut down on some of those conversations.
It makes it a lot less sad when at the end you're like, oh, they probably never really actually talked. In the series, they talk a lot and they have this whole dramatic drawn-out thing.
They do.
Were there a lot of differences did they have you redub anything? Like, did you have to come and do different work for?
For the movies, we tried to have as much new material as we could,
Yeah.
but we didn't do too many, as we call it, pulls, which basically is if it's already been a line that's been done, sometimes, if need be, we'll pull it from a previous episode or, an episode into a movie. Right. Sometimes we'll do that, but for this, we wanted to do as much original material as we could. So, when I watched the movies, because I haven't seen them in a while, I remembered, that's a totally different read from what I did in the series. So, so they did bring us back for a lot of new
I was going to say,
reads.
that's really interesting because I know in the Japanese version, they also redid some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you guys probably actually redid more because in Japan, it's like, okay, so here we have this material. It's all done. It's already in Japanese.
Right,
We're going to cut together what we want and, hey, let's tweak this scene a little bit and bring the voice actors back in.
Yeah.
But you guys, I feel like it's very different coming to the U.S. because it's like, all right, so they cut and pasted and added some new dialogue.
Right.
But you can't just, it actually would be more work for them to try to find those scenes in the English language version and kind of Frankenstein it together.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that term, Frankenstein it together.
That's what it is.
Recording the movies was actually a lot of fun because it is a recap of the series. But one thing that I noticed is that in a lot more, I'm sorry, I can speak English. In a couple of scenes, they're a bit extended, as you said, but there's new animation styles to it. Like, it's a lot more visual.
Amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it has a very cinematic feel because there's a lot of like fight scenes, which for the most part it's very accurate to the original series. Which again is like, okay, so you're not missing anything by watching these movies. This isn't like the Gurren Lagann movie where they just kind of like. So the Gurren Lagann has movies. Usually, a lot of anime series get movies, and that's either a totally different story or it's just like they pare it down so much.
Like those one-offs that have nothing to do with the actual story whatsoever. We've had so many of those on this show.
Exactly.
No, that's Rebellion.
And so like going into watching these Madoka OVAs, you sort of expect them to be more reminiscent of things like like the Escaflowne movie or like Adolescence of Utena, which are like retellings of the series in 90 minutes.
Do not even bring up the Utena movie to me. That is a whole different. I can't even. Cars. Cars.
But the character designs are so good.
No, they're beautiful. But I'm still really confused by it.
So just to dive into this movie a little bit, it is of course primarily a magical girl or Mahō Shōjo film, and of course it's got elements of fantasy and a little bit of horror as well.
My favorite part. My favorite. One thing I was happy to see.
Yeah, Madoka.
Because Jonathan and I are horror movie fans.
Absolutely,
like horror fans
so that's why we're both in
general,
black.
So. Absolutely.
Because you're goths forever, and I understand.
Well, especially with my newly dyed hair, I do look like I'm a goth. I was going for Angel Dust, man. Angel Dust from Deadpool, which Jonathan can appreciate. So
I didn't realize that you guys were a pair. I wish I brought my Deadpool something or other.
I know.
You're rocking the sweater vest.
Sweater vest,
rocking it.
I just got a really cool Deadpool shirt in my last Loot Crate too. I totally should have worn it. Yes, but it was produced by Aniplex and Shaft, directed by Akiyuki Shinbo, who also directed the series, which was also written by the same guy who wrote the movie, Gen Urobuchi, who also wrote Psycho-Pass and Fate/Zero, amongst a number of things. Now, Madoka is actually an interesting series unto itself because it's not based on a manga. It was just an original story. And then when they did these film adaptations of Madoka is when they did actually start releasing some manga. And there's a whole bunch of manga side stories and drama CDs.
The world of like Madoka Magica is so interesting when you see all the off branches.
Yeah.
It just has this Star Wars expanded universe type idea behind it. And so now there are all these different chunks of stories that are sometimes they're just nice what you would expect magic movies, and some are just super dark, ridiculous Mahō Shōjo wars and stuff, and they're assassinating
But I guess it
each
lends
other.
itself to that because, like you said, it's an original piece. It's not out of a manga. It was made for the anime, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was.
That's different.
Yeah, and just sparked this whole additional expanded universe, like you say, Max. Very, very reminiscent of Star Wars in some ways. It was released on October 13th, 2012. That's when Beginnings was in theaters, and on October 26th, 2013, the following year, is when Eternal came out, and it was screened in select locations in the United States.
I'm sad I missed this.
Including the Downtown Independent in Los Angeles.
Before that became a totally thing. That's the anime movie spot.
Oh yeah, we were there for Boy and Beast.
I saw the Naruto movies there.
Did you see Redline there?
I didn't see Redline there. That was once again totally before I knew that was even on my radar.
I love it though. I love that it's now officially the place for anime movies to premiere. And it's a great theater too.
It is.
That's
It's a great space. It's super fun.
I saw the Naruto the last movie. I saw the Bolt movie, and I saw the Love Live movie there. Oh man! So it was a good experience over there.
That is so great. So just to really sort of summarize what Madoka is about, basically, in the beginning of the story, Madoka Kaname and her buddy Sayaka Miki, they meet this creature called Kyubey. Who is basically
who's the devil?
The devil.
It's the devil. Just so you know,
in a teddy bear form.
It's the most adorable Satan you'll ever see in your life. Dear Lord.
Totally turns the mascot character.
I just love the look on your face, Emma, when you're just Kyubey, who's this You don't even know how to describe it.
He's basically like a sociopath in like a cat's body.
Yep.
Well, if you were to ask, Cassandra Lee Morris, who is the voice of Kyubey, if you were to ask her, she has a very interesting perspective and point of view on it. Well, because she like a lot of other people, some people view Kyubey as evil. They do view him as evil, but how she views it as he's just a guy doing his job. Yeah, he doesn't know wrong.
You said
from
it
right,
best. I felt a sociopath. You even said that they don't experience that. They don't experience emotion.
They're empathy.
Like you said, so he's doing his job to the most efficient manner that he possibly can.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Which is also evil.
I mean, from our perspective and from our heroine's perspective, certainly a little on the evil side. So they end up in a witch labyrinth. They get rescued by Mami Tomoe, who is a magical girl. Around the same time, this new transfer student comes in, Homura Akemi, and she clearly has some issues with Kyubey, which we later find out are for a very good reason. Eventually, Mami perishes. Spoilers. If you guys, I'm gonna say this: if you guys have not,
that's a nice way to put it. Perishes.
Yeah. If you guys have not,
she perishes.
If you haven't seen Madoka. Stop watching. Don't listen to this.
Basically, you want to watch Madoka.
It's so good.
We would much rather you guys stop watching this right now and start watching Madoka. That's how much we can vet.
Oh, I'm
that
sorry, guys. It looks like all of our viewership just stopped. The train is officially gone.
Close everything down. Shut everything down.
And then once Mami goes away is when Kyoko Sakura shows up basically to kind of take up Mami's beat in this part of the city.
Pretty much,
Because all the magical girls kind of have their own little areas.
They're turf.
They're turf. Yeah. Exactly. So let's get into a little bit of a discussion of the magical girl genre. Max, you want to take that away?
All right.
Yes,
Take it away.
Take away the magical girl genre.
As you guys can tell, magical girls is this kind of genre that has permeated itself in the history of anime.
Right.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, the two being the biggest, examples of magical girl anime.
Yeah.
So the discussion is, what makes a magical girl anime? And this is a discussion because I don't necessarily feel like there's one huge
tropes.
Everything is a trope. Yeah, absolutely.
I think what can possibly make a magical girl anime is there has to be some sort of dramatic conflict.
Yeah.
Most of the time in magical girl shows, the magical girls are of the teenage age, you know?
For sure.
And so, because at that point, teenagers, they go through the most horrible things in the world, hormones, relationships, all of that stuff. And on top of that, transformations.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely transformations. Transformations is number one.
Right. And Lauren, you bring up a good point, too, about the dramatic conflict, which is very much at the center of this and is the reason why Kyubey, who we find out is an incubator, whose job
Which is the grossest name to be near adolescent, prepubescent girls. By the way, the incubator.
So you just took it to a whole
this movie is super dark, all right? I'm going to take it to
I had that
whatever
exact same thought when oh gosh, who is it? It's Homura. Homura says, says, I know your real name, incubator. And I was watching and went, ew. I was like, that's gross.
But it kind of, so this, I think, even though it is a magical girl fantasy shoujo horror, it's also a sci-fi. Because
it is sci-fi.
The idea behind, Kyubey's deeds is the fact that they're trying to protect the universe from entropy, which in this universe is the loss of energy. So in theoretical physics, energy cannot be destroyed or created. It only just transfers into a different thing. But in this universe, it does just kind of dissipate. And so I don't know why it's always magical girls. It's like the magical girl power, but basically they have to use the magical girl's energy as magical girls to, I guess, create energy.
Well,
So I just have this.
Makes sense.
I have this wonderful note about that because when Kyubey talks about the type of energy that they need and they're looking for the most efficient person to give it, they say specifically, this age group, teenagers, and specifically girls. So I mean, I think I even wrote it down. Puberty saves the universe.
Yeah,
puberty.
True,
they're looking
puberty
for
energy.
Female going through puberty.
Well, it's true
puberty
because
saves the world.
that is an incredibly, for most young girls, that is an incredibly emotional time. So they're vulnerable to all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically like, come and get me, man.
And specifically in terms of Madoka.
That's an interesting way to put it.
In terms of Madoka, the idea is that emotion, that really raw, just out there vulnerable emotion,
absolutely
generates the most amount of energy, which is why they're on this planet putting these girls through all this torment.
Which I guess kind of makes sense in that kind of okay, it's a very emotional time. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, so you had the whole of the universe, like just every single place, because you're like a part of this intergalactic Congress or whatever, and you pick adolescent girls? That's
I'm telling you, man, adolescent girls, they go through the worst crap.
Yeah,
it's true.
Karina says short skirts save the universe.
Fair enough. And
frequently.
And lots of
Karina knows what she's talking about.
So, and I would say one thing that's always in a shoujo is the contract with a familiar.
Yes.
Or the agreement with the familiar.
A mascot character.
Mascot,
right.
And there's always some sort of contract agreement. Luna, and Serena have this, and then this one they very much make the
Serena.
contract. Oh, I know. I'm very much of the American version.
I know.
I'm sorry. Don't
Get
you
that
mean
out of here.
the Canadian version?
What's that about?
The Canadian.
All right, let's move on, eh?
Yes, let's move on. So, Jonathan, I want to ask you this, since you had not seen the series.
Please.
Yes.
Getting into the movies, did you know what you were getting into?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Now, and this was important because the first almost 3/4 of the movie I did not like.
Right.
I was just thinking, another magical girl thing.
That's what they
I'm not
think.
really into it, and it was very kind of fluffy, like the first half 3/4, and then it gets dark. Well, I should say then Mommy dies, and I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it
In a
gets
very gruesome way.
Yeah.
that thing just humped. But I felt it was really telegraphed for me. I don't know how it was in the show.
Yeah.
In the show, may have been different. But Mommy, right before she dies, has this whole thing that she says to Monica where she's like, oh, we're going to be partners. Finally, I won't be alone anymore. And I was like, oh, she's dead.
That does happen, and that was definitely a death flag. I feel like in the series, it's a little bit more drawn out because you also
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the series, they totally throw you because the series has this really cute magical girl opening, and for the first 2 episodes, it's this really schmaltzy shoujo closing song.
Very
Yeah,
much so,
the whole thing is it doesn't have that
Interesting.
intro that it plays every single time.
Yeah.
And the intro is straight up just normal
Magical
cutesy
girl,
magical girl.
Yeah.
So every time you watch it, you're like, oh, I am unassuming right now.
So like this movie,
Completely
they set
unassuming.
you up the same way.
Oh, they
Basically.
totally.
Okay,
And
okay.
I think that the series, I would agree with you, it does a slightly better job throwing you for a loop because again, you're seeing that really saccharine intro every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then at the end of episode 3, Mommy gets her head bitten off.
Yeah.
And the ending music changes, and you're like, oh, this is
We're in for it.
It's literally instantaneous tone change. Everything is
absolutely.
always going fine for everyone. Everyone's just having a great freaking time, just saving the world or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, once that point hits, then it snowballs so hard.
Well, that's
And then they
what's
kill Ned
amazing about the show.
He's never coming back.
That's what
Spoilers!
happens,
No.
I know.
If you don't know that by now, then you're way
Yeah,
behind.
come on, guys.
Yeah, it's been years.
That's what most people that I've spoken to, the audience of Madoka, whether it's men and women, and this actually reaches out to a very large male audience
yeah.
as well. They usually tell me I thought it was gonna be a couple girls just being nice to each other, being friends, and it was gonna be all fluffy as you called it, and then no.
It's to me, it's basically
I love it.
a
It's
darker Terminator 2. You guys think about it.
I don't know if you can get darker than
Fascinating.
Terminator 2.
It kind of does.
It explores some similar themes to Terminator 2. Well, since we already touched on Mommy a little bit, let's just talk a little bit more about her as a character. So she's definitely the big sister mentor kind of type, and she's the first magical girl that Madoka and Sayaka encounter who's nice to them because Homura is very, very cold, very distant.
Right.
Because she's the Terminator.
It's
She's the
the way
Terminator,
to think of it is Mommy is very pro magical girl, whereas Homura seems to be kind of anti magical girl.
Yeah.
I mean, not that she's against being a magical
Right.
girl, but Mommy looks more of it as this is my duty,
Right.
My gift.
Exactly.
But Mommy also has a good sense of this is my destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madoka, Sayaka, you guys don't have to do this.
Yes.
You know, she never encourages them to make the choice to become magical girls because she knows how dangerous and lonely it is. And the thing about Mami is she is very good, and she believes in good, and she believes in justice, and she fights for the greater good, but doesn't really get any return on it whatsoever.
Which it seems to be a theme. Like, Mami is the one character who's like, I'm trying to save people and make the world a better place. And all the other magical girls are like, screw that.
Yeah.
We're down for just getting what we want. You wish for yourself, take care of yourself, F everyone else, let the familiars eat people so they can become witches so we can kill them and get our just desserts. Like, except for Mami, she's that one character, and it seems that every good wish, every time you wish something good, it just turns out bad. It just turns out evil.
You know, the line is something along
it's very despairing.
With as much hope, there's a equal measure of despair. So, you know, that's the concept that kind of runs through this whole movie.
And Mami's,
which is the energy, I guess.
And Mami's character is also built on this girl who didn't have a choice when she made her wish.
Which they don't address in the movie
I know,
at
they
all.
didn't address that in the movie at all, which I thought was so weird.
Her backstory basically is, and which
that was the big thing you said they cut out, is the backstory of
for her. And the whole thing is her death has even more of an impact in the series because the way that she made her wish is because she was in a car accident, and so she basically wished that she basically didn't want to die from the car accident.
She didn't have a choice.
And so she just had to be a magical girl, so that's why she's kind of given up this idea, like, I should already be dead, but now I have a second chance, and here's my, like, sort of redemption.
That's really good. That's a good story.
And,
I wish they would have left that.
I know of a lot of people that have started watching this show, and after Mami dies, they can't continue. Because even though she's in, like, maybe 3 episodes,
I love
3
Mami.
episodes, people get attached to her because she's this lovable character. And the moment that they take that character away, it goes all Game of Thrones on you. You know, they just are like, nope, I'm done. You took away this character that I got really attached to, that I really started to love. What is wrong with you? And so a lot of people are like,
powers are the coolest too.
I was about to say,
I'm all about the guns.
She's running gun, man. She is just, and I love when she like drops down with like 40 like, and they're like old school musket type guns, and she literally is like picks up, boom, one shot, throw, one shot, throw. Very cool. And
it's
then,
pretty awesome.
The animation's so cool. I mean, you know, the thing why dudes love it so much is because there's so much. It's so action-packed. It's not just like heart beams and love powers and like glitter eye laser beams or whatever. It is like some really super good action. And in the movie, I feel like they ramp it up a little bit more by having a crisper animation, but also they have a lot more dramatic angles, which it makes it more cinematic, which I noticed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the fight scenes are definitely amped up a little in the films.
So good.
So on the polar opposite end of the spectrum from Mami is Sakura, Kyoko Sakura, who has the saddest backstory ever. So she basically shows up and she's like really abrasive and just super self-centered.
You assume that she is the villain at first.
Yeah, you totally do.
At first, you assume that she's the villain, and I totally got that vibe as well.
Yeah, she's supposed to kind of be like the rival character for the kind of
certainly for Sayaka,
the bad girl or whatever.
Right? Yeah.
You know, but,
absolutely.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is the reason she is the way she is because she used to be a really good, selfless, giving kind of person, and it totally backfired on her.
The worst
they
way.
cover this in Eternal, really. This is where you get to see it at the beginning. The first third of Eternal is just her story. And to me, of these 2 films, that was my favorite part.
I know.
Absolutely. Because they've built up this character this one way, and then they really just throw you in so you get to see her entire experience. And it left me at first going, wait, what happened to the story? And then when you see the sort of the repetition of like, she's basically going through a life, you know, trying to save Madoka, and then when she fails, she goes back in time and tries it again, and you just see
We're talking about Homura.
We're talking about
We're talking about Kyoko.
We're talking about Kyoko.
We're talking about the red-haired one.
We're talking about Lauren Landa's character.
Yep, we are talking about Lauren's character right now.
He's new. It's totally fine. He's
so there's characters in this thing.
It's fine.
My favorite character. Okay.
No,
Well, I'm going to come back to this, is what's going to happen.
So we had...
Dear Lord.
So we talked about Madoka on an episode of my Sailor Moon podcast because we like to cover like other magical girl series also. And we had Christine on who does the voice of Madoka. Right. And she said that when she saw the like character designs for Madoka, she really wanted to be Kyoko.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When I auditioned for the characters, because I think I auditioned for all the girls, including Kyubey's a boy. Excuse me. All the girls and also
sort of an
Kyubey. The two characters that I absolutely loved were Kyoko and Homura. So I said,
Which is V. That's V.
Yeah, Christina V.
Yes. And she rocks at it. So I wanted to be either or. And then I got the email saying, hey, you've been cast as Kyoko. I was like,
yeah.
and all that.
Because Kyoko basically is, she's like the result of somebody who was a very good and selfless kind of person because she because basically her backstory is that she wished for her father, who was like removed himself from this religious order and had some kind of crazy ideals, and she saw how much he was struggling, and so when she was presented with the opportunity to make a wish, she wished for him.
She made a wish for somebody else.
Yes.
And because of that, and because life basically came at her and slapped her in the face for that, she has now become, as you said, this abrasive person.
Super jaded.
Very bitter, you know? And
she flipped the script.
She totally did. And that's where the whole relationship between her and Sayaka starts.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what happens with Sayaka.
That's exactly what happens with Sayaka. There's so many parallels between these two characters because Sayaka Miki, who is, Madoka's longtime friend, and we're introduced to the two of them right at the beginning.
Yeah, that first movie is really her movie. It's Sayaka's movie.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah.
If you think about it, Sayaka is kind of like Madoka, what Madoka would have been. That's kind of like what they're kind of trying to show. So if it was the opposite, like Sayaka wasn't the one that made the choice, and then Madoka was the one that became a magical girl or whatever. So it's like if they both were magical girls, automatically there would be no story. Because Madoka has to see all of the stuff.
I will say this though, I don't know if it's like this in the show. I was talking with Amanda about this, Amanda Miller, and she was, and I don't know if it was like this, that the movies, Madoka never becomes a magical girl.
That's correct. Yeah,
that's like that in the show too.
Yeah, I mean the point of both Madoka and Sayaka to a certain degree is they're sort of waffling about well, what would I wish for? I don't really want anything for myself.
Right.
And Sayaka, much like Kyoko made a wish for somebody else, ends up making a wish for someone else, for Kyosuke, this boy who she's in love with who plays the violin.
But he's been paralyzed.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not paralyzed, but
his hands
have been injured.
And it has a similar result, of course, as Kyoko.
Absolutely. Except that with Sayaka, we discover a very important plot point. So basically, the thing with the magical girls is it is their job to hunt witches.
Yes. Right.
So basically, like, witch labyrinths will pop up, and we see a little bit that, like, it does affect what's going on in the real world, and certainly we're gearing up for the arrival of...
It makes people super suicidal.
Walpurgisnacht.
Do not remind me of that. Walpurgisnacht. And I have a love-hate relationship with that name. Walpurgisnacht.
They definitely do not pronounce it like that in the Japanese version.
In the series,
actually, Knights or something.
In the series, actually, Christina V actually has an amazing blooper with that. And instead of I'm gonna screw this up. Instead of Walpurgisnacht, it's the Wiener Schnitzel. A witch called the Wiener Schnitzel will come, and I'm like, that's pretty much it.
I would love if you could just replace all that with Wiener Schnitzel. That would be the greatest Madoka ever, really.
That's so similar to like Nanoha. We had like all these like German names in Nanoha.
We did,
for some reason, German stuff is like a thing with magical girl animes. I don't know why it is. It just is like that.
But basically, so Sayaka, in the process of battling, they find out that, like, okay, two big things. Their soul gems contain their actual souls.
Yes.
Because they use their soul gems to transform, and that harnesses their power. And basically, they have to defeat witches and get their grief seeds to purify their soul gems. Well, their soul gems are their actual souls.
Yes.
Now, and they got way bent out of shape about that. And I was like, dude, why are you so bent out of shape?
Well, because they're young, emotional girls.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because Sayaka basically, upon this being revealed to her, is like, I can never be with Kyosuke because I'm this body is basically a zombie. Yeah. Like, I'm not a person.
Basically, I feel like that's just technicality. That's just like kind of a way to say. But maybe that's because we're just cold calculating dudes.
You do make a good point.
Well, essentially, when a magical girl forms a contract with Kyubey, they are basically signing away their soul.
Yeah. Like the devil.
Exactly, like the devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and their souls go into the soul gems, and if the soul gem is, I don't remember the distance.
It's broken, or it's like 100 meters.
100 meters away from them, they will fall over dead, because essentially there's nothing keeping their body alive at that point.
In my, like, why have it like a outside form? Like, just like keep it on your person, like put it on your your chest. Like Kyoko has it on her chest.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense to me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so it's like just kind of have like an outside heart. You have magical powers. There you go. Be fine.
But the other big reveal in this moment during Sayaka's story is that the witches that they are fighting used to be magical girls.
Very cool. Nice twist.
There's
I like
some.
it.
There's two versions of it. It's that there are some that become that, and then some that are just created through malice of
Correct.
humans.
Yes, of course.
That's like the familiars eating 4 people or something like that. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
And Kyubey, like, this is so sinister of Kyubey because he still has that face, but like he has those dead eyes, which I love. But
at the same time, you just want to cuddle him.
Yeah, it's
really disturbing.
But he basically says, what is a witch? A witch is just an adult version of a magical girl.
I know.
And you're like, wordplay. Sinister.
Yeah, because I mean that is definitely a theme that is explored in Madoka that I think we see reflected in the real world, that a lot of traits that we value in little girls, like, you're so smart, you're so pretty, like all of a sudden when you possess those qualities as an adult woman, you are suddenly threatening.
Yeah.
Right.
You're calculating, manipulative.
Yep, and you use your beauty for your personal gain. Yeah, it's just...
Boy, they really set that off. It was really interesting right off the bat with the mother talking to Madoka. She's like, girls need to look pretty. Just like even if you don't have a boyfriend, you give yourself the appearance of, like those kind of things. I was like, damn.
Yeah, you make people think you got secret admirers.
That's it. I was like, oh, geez. I was like, is that how it works?
There's a lot of really great interaction with her mom in the series isn't really in the film. Because her mom is like a business lady.
Like she's like a super hardcore like Japanese company.
And her dad is a stay-at-home dad.
I know.
And they've completely switched roles, and I love it.
You don't get a lot of that in the film.
Yeah. No, that was the biggest thing that was missing, was her relationship with her family, which was really, really cute in the series.
That's what also makes it like really heartbreaking towards the end. Like way more heartbreaking.
Yeah, I totally
than I personally think the movies.
I agree with you.
And they definitely touch upon that in the series ending, which they don't really do that much in the movie. It's, it's kind of a give and take, unfortunately.
But Sayaka's story is still just as tragic.
Yeah, it's really bad.
But that's the most compelling thing about that first movie is Sayaka's story. Such a good story.
Yeah, well, I mean, so basically, Sayaka's story is it's based sort of on Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Little Mermaid, where basically it's like Sayaka uses her wish for this guy who she's in love with. He doesn't necessarily reciprocate her feelings, but there's nothing evil or wrong about that. He just doesn't.
It's
human.
Doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's part of the, it's part of the teenage process. It's just you like somebody and they don't like you in return.
Yeah.
And, it's the original form of rejection.
Yep.
Pretty
And
much.
props out to Hitomi going girl code, I guess. I didn't know. I mean, we have bro code, but girl code where she sits Sayaka down and is like,
hey, bro.
So I like him.
Yep.
And you've been dragging your feet. You've got 24 hours to say something, make a move, and then I'm going in.
Right.
And props out to Shelby Lindley for the voice of Hitomi. There you go.
To also be fair, like I feel like this was bad timing the movie, because if she had enough time to process a lot of stuff and be like able to be okay with everything, it wouldn't have played out that way, really. She probably could have got guidance from Kyoko. She could have just been like okay and realized that she's still technically a human being.
Right.
But it was just like she became a magical girl and Kyoko was a dick to her, and then she found out that like she's a zombie person, and then she comes over and she's like, I'm gonna confess to the guy that you've loved forever, and you basically sacrificed your life for.
The downward spiral went fast.
Sayaka goes through a lot of crap.
She does.
And one thing a question that I get at a lot when I do a lot of Madoka panels at conventions is, who do you think has the more depressing storyline? And I honestly don't know which to answer because they all, I mean, except for Madoka.
Yeah.
Madoka really has, I mean, in this current timeline, she has a nice life. She's very close with her family.
Yeah.
Sayaka, you know, she likes a guy. He rejects, not like
doesn't
full
even,
reject
I
her,
know.
but like, you know,
But
like,
she can't. She doesn't even have the hope to try.
Right.
Like, that
Correct.
is even
Correct.
the worst
Yeah.
thing because at this point, Kyubey has just crushed her
Yeah.
at being a magical girl, and and it's unfortunate because of the other timelines. You kind of start seeing that like. Oh, there's other timelines, which we'll get to.
Which we'll get to, yeah.
Homura.
Right.
Well, I just want one last thing to talk about with Sayaka before we get into Homura and all the alternate
which I know
timelines.
Jonathan is so
I'm so
he's really
excited.
excited.
My favorite part.
But basically Sayaka, because exactly like she didn't even have any hope at all that things were going to work out between herself and Kyosuke, so she falls into this very deep despair. As you say, it's like a series of badly timed unfortunate events, and she turns into a witch. Octavia von Seckendorf, again with the German, and if you will notice, that witch does indeed have a mermaid tail as a sort of nod to that.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Mermaid fairy tale. Yeah, the first time I noticed that was maybe my second time watching the series, and
I
I
did
just
not notice that.
crushed my soul.
I was just like, oh, I guess it's a fish, but it's more of a knight. It was like a night fish.
Yeah.
And so that's what I just thought.
It's a mermaid.
But
Wow,
wow, that is super deep.
That's a mix of a
About-
lot of creepy things. Is what that is.
The witch's art style is so amazing.
Yeah, you see it?
You know, as far as Sayaka's storyline, what happens with her in the show, I think out of all the characters, a lot of people can relate with Sayaka the
I
most
agree.
because we've all been in, you know, in that position. Like we like somebody and then they don't like us in return. You know, at one point in our
pretty
life,
soul crushing.
it's
It is.
very
Yeah.
painful. It's a very painful process to go through for both men and women.
Especially when you're like at that age. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I look back at myself at that, and I'm like, man, you were dumb.
Yep.
You're real dumb. Like it's not really that big a deal, but
Yeah.
man, it felt it.
Yep. So Sayaka and Kyoko both die in one fell swoop because Kyoko basically sacrifices herself to
Yeah.
stay behind and
She
and
Goku'd it for
kill
sure.
Sayaka.
And the Game of Thrones continues, killing off the lead
The Game of
characters.
Thrones continues. Yes, but moving on to Homura, who Jonathan
Okay.
already gave us a little
Best
story.
part of the
Homura.
movies. Now the part
didn't know.
it's in Eternal. It's the first half-ish of Eternal. It's awesome. So you get Homura. Oh my gosh, I'm the worst at that.
mouthful.
So yeah, so her power is time. Because of the wish that she made, so now she's be able to travel back in time. Because the wish she made was to save Madoka, and so now she's constantly in this time rift where basically she's trying new things to save Madoka, and she keeps failing and failing and failing and failing
Every single time.
Yes, and then you get to see her personality start to change and develop. And so this character who you thought was one thing, you get to experience her entire story in this short like time travel experience. It was like 40 Terminator movies.
Yes.
And it
Over and
was
over again.
It was totally awesome and totally like well done.
Total Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Total
Like,
Sarah Connor.
because you
Yeah.
know, in the first Terminator film, just like in the beginning of Homura's storyline, she's this sweet, very shy, timid girl who doesn't have any confidence whatsoever, and then slowly but surely, as she sees the horrors of her best friend dying,
Over
she
and
slowly
over again.
over and over again, and that's what I think. Again, another incredible, painful storyline because it's just depressing.
I mean, the first time that
So
I
good.
saw this episode in the anime series where they explained Homura's backstory, it was like
Oh my God.
ugly,
Yeah.
sobbing, like whole box of tissues.
It
Yeah.
was intense.
It was.
I do have one
Incredibly.
question about it though, and
Yes.
this is a time travel question. So she's
Indeed.
gone through this time rift so
because-
many times.
Well, it's not even that she's gone through the time rift. She's created this
She's
time
created.
rift.
Oh,
she
yes.
has time
We'll
magic.
get to that. Yeah. So she goes through it over and over and over and over. So my thing is, does she not age then? Because that girl should be like 50 years old. Like,
Well, okay, so this only happens during months. So
Yeah.
from what
So she's
it
only a
seems
few
like-
months older.
Yeah, they imply that this has happened at least 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, because
Okay.
there's these numbers that come up in the beginning of the movie, and every time you see a time switch, you
that's
see
right.
you see it go down by one. So basically, it's been almost a year of her doing this.
Right.
Because every time she goes back a month. Because Walpurgis Night always comes from that moment when she becomes a magical girl, and it starts in 1 month.
Okay,
So-
that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're right. She should have aged a little bit, but because she's kind of that age, and
but
maybe time travel and all that.
And time travel always throws things off. But I love what they did with this is that her time travel is actually created the power that Madoka is.
Exactly.
And the story itself is actually Homura, and that's the story is her.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the first movie is Sayaka, and the second movie is really Homura. And like Madoka is just like this. Like, I mean, she's there.
Madoka ends up being like the grand device.
She becomes God.
Yeah.
That's
she basically does.
Yeah, exactly. She has been dubbed Gadoka.
Gadoka.
Yeah, Gadoka.
Well, I will say this, like, it's called, Madoka Magica, but like I was talking with Amanda about this, and Amanda was like, that should be called like, Madoka that regular bitch, because like she doesn't do anything.
Well, the thing about Madoka is that. Because basically, when Homura shows up, she kind of has this conversation with Madoka, which really, like, resonates with me of, okay, do you like your life? Do you like your life the way that it is? And she's like, yeah, I have a good life.
Sure.
And she does. She has a really nice life. She's like, then don't do anything to change it. Basically, don't wish to become a magical girl, because if you do, you're going to ruin your life.
And
you want to know
here's
what would
all
have
the
solved?
things.
You want to know what would have solved this whole problem? Just like in every single time traveling issue, if somebody had said, "I come from the future. I know what happens. Listen to me. I have some pretty good advice."
Well,
and of course, the other person would think that other person's insane. But either way,
basically the whole thing is like every time she has said that in the other previous timelines, people they freaked out, and Mommy. And there's this one part in the timeline where she's like, you shouldn't do this because, she knows about the soul gems now, and she knows that they become witches because they see that Sayaka becomes a witch.
Right.
And then Mommy goes insane and starts killing everybody.
That's right.
And she kills Kyoko.
That was so good.
And then Madoka has to kill Mommy because she's gone crazy.
Yeah.
That was so good.
And so that's, I think it's, the idea of that, all that hope makes so much misery. Like that just like a chain that like can never end with any of these girls.
Yeah. I mean, because basically, in the Madoka universe, what we're dealing with is this very sort of sad system where, you have witches that either were magical girls or that were generated, by the general sort of angst of humankind. And there are no happy endings for magical girls. They're either going to get killed or they're going to end up becoming a witch.
Which is that's a nice flip on the trope. Like, friendship saves the day. Here it's like, no, you're all miserable and you're going to die unhappy.
The best thing is it's also like
you will die
friendship
alone.
is weakness.
Die alone. Friendship is weakness.
Friendship is weakness in this for some reason because they will always betray you, and that's a point that they pound in every single time. For the most part.
But fortunately, because Homura has traveled through time so many times and built up Madoka's potential, Madoka's wish is so powerful that she literally rewrites the fabric of the universe.
Right. Yeah.
Which I thought about it. And I've always thought about this. Why didn't she just wish for witches to be, or witches to either one, well, they don't exist anymore for the most part.
Right.
But why did they not just make it so like all magical girls are just like good and they live afterwards? Like, why do they always have to die?
Because I think when you're under that kind of pressure, you don't really think about it. So you're like,
she didn't think it through, really.
I don't know.
And you're a teenage girl going through puberty because you're the essence of the universe.
Right. And so if she can rewrite the fabric of time, why do they need the system of like entropy in general?
Right.
Like, so that's one thing. I mean, if you're trying to explain it, then let's say that is one of the universe's laws that you can't possibly. You have to talk to yourself through it. But for the most part, I was like, you could have done better, Madoka.
Well, it is interesting when you think about the wishes, and people go, oh, I wish to survive, or I wish that this boy survives, or I wish my dad could, be a cult leader. I wish he drinks the Kool-Aid. Like, and then you could really wish, use your imagination. She's like, I wish to be the god of the universe. Like, you could, I mean, that was essentially the wish, but that was the outcome of it. But I'm like, gosh, you could wish anything.
Yeah.
Use it.
But
use
the
it.
whole thing is, I think the reason that she became if I had to explain it away, because I did think about this a lot because I love this series, is the fact that like because there is that balance of if you make a wish, there's going to be a level of misery that happens. And so basically what she did is she catch-22'd it. Right. So it's like if she's a witch, but she's like a god girl now, and then she creates a witch that is of equal power to her, she can cancel it out because that's the wish. You know?
Yeah.
And so in this kind of like catch-22 loop, in that way, she beat the system.
Yeah, I love that the system still at the end we're like, all right, now we got wraiths.
Yeah,
just so you know, no more witches. We got wraiths.
Yeah,
it's
but they're
really,
all like magical girls. Like they're just like legit magical girls now that like I guess die if they have it.
If they expend all their energy, which we see even in the alternate Madoka timeline that she's now created.
Yeah,
like Sayaka still uses up her energy, but like it's this beautiful scene where she just like watches Kyosuke play a concert.
It honestly is one of the oldest tricks in the book. You know, if you make a wish, be careful what you wish for. Consequences and all of that, and you know, you just don't make up any contracts. Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't
I just wanted to. Just for me, with the ending with Madoka, it's like. Because this series is so sad and so dark, but then for me, this emotional payoff at the end where Madoka like rewrites the fabric of the universe and basically sacrifices herself so that magical girls can be sort of more regular magical girls. It was the emotional payoff was
it's
so
a very
good.
bittersweet ending.
She becomes basically like a hope that never existed. She
Yep.
becomes hope, which to me I can totally live with. But you know, once again, could have done better, Madoka.
Well, you know, I did
thought about it for like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I
you
did.
know, maybe wrote it down a little bit, like repeated it to yourself. But, you know.
My notes here is like is one like go big or go home, and the other one is Madoka becomes Jesus.
Yes,
it's essentially.
So there's apparently this idea. It's a trope. It's called Crapsashian world. Crapsashian?
Saccharin?
You're killing me here. What is that?
It's Crapsashian. It stems from the word crapsack, of where it's like this world that looks super cute in the beginning, and then you realize it's
saccharin, like sweet. Yeah, saccharin
is that an
sweet.
actual word?
Yeah,
it's an internet made up trope word.
Okay.
Yeah, but it basically describes this world. You know.
No, I think that's very accurate. So we are running low on time. So very quickly, what would you guys rate these two films? Jonathan, starting with you.
Okay. I want to bring up a favorite moment also.
Sure.
When Homura straight caps
Homura
Kyubey.
surprise.
Homura straight caps him.
Yeah, it's
like she just bang.
And then he comes over and he eats his dead
Oh,
body.
he eats his own body, dude. He's the devil.
Every single time.
He's the devil. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
Really, that first portion of the first movie was fantastic. I felt they were all over a little bit too long. I felt maybe if they're gonna make these movies, cut it down some more.
Yeah.
So there were plenty of times where I was like, okay, I'm dragging. Like 10 minutes felt like a long time, but then other times 30 minutes felt like 5 minutes. So, you know, I'll give it a 4. Okay. I mean, it was one of the better magical girl things I've seen. Because I'm not a big fan of the magical.
It's one of the best.
Yeah. Well, being very familiar with this world, this universe,
I would hope so.
I would hope so. You know, I have it's very near and dear to my heart because I've grown to love the show. I've grown to love the movies. I absolutely love the characters, and I love the fact that this reaches out to both, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I love that. It's not. I mean, not that it would be bad if it was just for girls or not, but I love that it reaches out to everybody, and I love, and I'm sure you can agree with me on this, how again you expect it to be something else, but it gets super dark very, very early on, and I tend to like the darker themed anime shows. So
me too.
I would give it a 5.
Perfect.
Oh, a straight up 5.
Nice.
Kobe.
So I have to give the movie a 4 because I give the series a 5.
Yep.
Okay.
I think even though it was pared down, and I feel like the pacing is very good for trying to fit in everything into a movie, but I realize what Jonathan said is right. It does drag a lot for a movie, and even I had a little bit of a hard time watching through it, expecting a movie-sized bite.
Yep.
Which then, if I'm going to have exactly all of that, then I just want more of that, so I would rather watch the series.
Yep.
And also, I think as a literary kind of device, it is a very good, well-written story. And even though it's dark, it like examines a lot of tropes, and it examines sort of, it's a very good, well-thought-out sci-fi that kind of delves into what humans, especially, all the shit that like girls have to go through just in general.
Yeah.
So,
Truth.
like that to me is a strong, solid piece. watch the series. You can watch the movie if you want, but trust me, there's just so many more feels in the series that you just, they squeeze it out in the end, and you're like, man, that ending is an ending that will always be memorable.
Yeah. I'm in 100% agreement with you, Max. Like 4 for the movie, 5 for the series. Like even though some of the reanimated battle scenes in the movie are awesome,
right?
It doesn't counterbalance what you miss out on by having just that extra hour of content.
But to be fair, the series doesn't slump in the action.
No.
So
The series is also really beautiful.
It's a little less polished, but the action in it is very good.
Super great.
Kind of badass.
All right, awesome. Well, Lauren, thanks for coming on the show today.
Big round of applause to Lauren, who's Karen in Street Fighter V.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you
so much.
So many Street Fighters.
Any other things, Lauren, that you want to promote? You got any con appearances coming up or anything?
When don't I have a convention? Let's see. March 11th to the 13th, I will be at Anime Milwaukee. And then after that, I will be at Permian Basin Comic-Con.
What?
That's a mouthful. I don't even know.
Okay. There's a place called Permian Basin.
Yes.
Good to know that.
And then there's a lot of other convention appearances going on, but you can check out all those con appearances at animecons.com and just look under the guest name Lauren Landa. But other than that, Street Fighter V's out. I'm so glad to be a part of that. Still recording
so cool.
Sailor Moon, which I'm very stoked about. So excited about. And I think I'm trying to remember honestly.
If you have any other things you're allowed to talk about.
I know.
The life is so full.
The most recent thing is Street Fighter, and I just got back from a convention, and so many people were so excited, and they brought me things to sign, and I was like, I'm part of this franchise. That's awesome. But because she hasn't been in the game since Alpha. I believe. So everybody's like super excited to her to make this return.
That's awesome.
Alpha?
She was in Alpha. No, she was in like the 3rd Alpha one.
Yeah,
the
Alpha
3rd
3,
installment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
So she's making her, return.
Oh.
She's, and I'm very
Awesome.
excited to be a part of it and incredibly grateful to be a part of it.
Yay,
So,
awesome.
And thank you guys so much for having me on here
Yeah.
again.
Absolutely. You're
Well,
welcome.
and thank you guys for letting me do the show that I'm
Absolutely.
not normally
Which
on.
I love your shirt, by the way,
Oh, thank
as I
you.
pointed out.
My lovely Attack on Titan baseball tee, which is a level up item from Loot Crate.
Plug.
Plug.
And who are you in Attack on Titan?
Oh, I play Annie Leonhardt in Attack on Titan. So technically I'm not in the Scout Regiment, but I still love the shirt.
Yes, Lauren's very busy and important. Jonathan, where can people find you on the internet?
All right, you can find me at KaibaCat on all those social medias, and also watch us on Twitch. That you can watch me playing Street Fighter V at Man Cave Gaming, MANKAVE, Man Cave Gaming.
Max.
And you can find me at Super Otaku, Super Attack, the U at the end.
And I'm Emma Fife. You can find me all over the internet at Emma Fife. You will not find me on the show again next week. They'll be back at their usual time.
Yeah, we have Yume, and Chubby Bunny. Michelle is.
They're
will be
back. They're back
And,
from Japan.
Yeah, and they're a little brain dead right now, but we'll hear all about their trip next week as I just.
Yeah, so it'll be back at the usual time, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So you should watch because this is a great show and it was really fun to be a part of. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight, everybody in the live chat. And again, thank you to Lauren for joining us. And it was great to be here.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Make it sound like a eulogy.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.